Right, hey guys, how are we doing? Back with another video from Ainz, and today we're checking out Overlord Season 4, Episode 1 content. Love this. I've watched the first 2 episodes of Overlord, really enjoying it. Intriguing to see where it goes, but it's always really interesting to see what was cut out, and Ainz is the guide for it, so let's check it out. I'm looking forward to checking one of these out every week as well.
Overlord's
it's
lore
gonna be
and
cool.
world building are what you like the most, then
Hell
that's
yeah.
exactly what you're going to get from this. Since the novel is such a dense
Whoa, that looks cool.
the cut content doesn't really deal with much of the narrative, but instead covers the layers and layers of world-enriching details.
Okay, cool.
Things like Ainz's desire to create a utopia, along with the more subtle goings-on of the Sorcerer Kingdom, will all be explored in a way that the anime couldn't quite show us. So let's begin our Season 4 of Overlord cut content and take a look at everything the anime left out from the novels.
Sick.
Let's get started. Episode 40, Sorcerer Kingdom Ainz will go, covering Chapter 1 of Volume 10 of the light novel. Starting things off with everyone's favorite succubus,
Hell
we
yeah.
find out here that things have actually been quite busy for her. You see, with Nazarick now in control of an entire nation, Albedo was now responsible for finding the appropriate people to help manage it.
It's cool to see her have responsibility, man.
Servants had fled back to the kingdom. Many of the government posts were now left open. So it was Albedo's job to train some undead to fill those vacancies. Of course, the work was quite overwhelming right now, but Albedo knew that if she worked hard enough, she could eventually
Keeps at it.
those undead
Cool.
to run the government on their own. That would be a true display of all she'd worked to accomplish. Now, Albedo wasn't sure what direction Ainz wanted to lead the Sorcerer Kingdom into, but she was positive she'd be able to make laws and policies that matched it. Like, if Ainz wanted to make all humans work for Nazarick as slaves, then Albedo would have no problem creating laws that enslaved humanity.
Well, yeah, definitely. She's totally up for that, isn't
She
she?
would just have to be a bit more careful with how they handled relationships with the neighboring countries. As much as she would.
Oh, that was great when she was kicking off, like, how dare you touch me!
You see, neither Albedo nor Demiurge had any clue as to what Ainz was planning for them. They even felt remorse for not being capable enough to fathom the total genius of his master.
Yeah, but that's because he doesn't know what he's doing.
Albedo did
It's so funny.
sure, though, was that there was something to their new Sorcerer Kingdom that was missing. It was as if a critical pillar of its foundation just wasn't there yet. Now, where we find ourselves at the beginning of the episode is the refurbished home of the former mayor of Ainz. A place Ainz felt was necessary to rule from despite the Guardian's numerous warnings against it. So, it was after he got up to begin his day that his initial response to the maid was a little bit different. You see, rather than say anything polite at all, Ainz simply waved his hand and gestured for her to leave.
Right.
It was a completely dismissive motion he knew to be borderline arrogant. The reason he went with it anyway, though, was because this was the type of attitude Nazarick seemed to prefer from him.
Right, yeah, he's trying to, like, play to how they want to be treated.
Pretty much every resident of Nazarick preferred to be treated like they were being dominated.
Oh god, when he's
to revel in the
with Shelter, yeah.
of Ainz's person, even if Ainz didn't seem to enjoy it himself. So, in order to help himself play the role of king even better, Ainz would actually spend his spare time spying on Jerkniv.
Oh wow.
At least that way he had something else to reference other than the office he was always picturing.
Yeah, cool.
That, and he actually believed Jerkniv to be a model ruler, one he wished to be able to discuss their kingly struggles with.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
Now,
Cool.
the reason Ainz brought up the idea of treating NPCs as his equal was because no longer did he think that any were going to betray him.
Yeah,
So
he
long as
trusts
there
them
were no more
completely.
incidents and he
Yeah.
continued to impress, the possibility of a revolt
I mean, yeah, that
was
thing with Shelter was
zero.
cool.
That being the case, Ainz was starting to think that perhaps they could change their lifestyle a bit. Not only would it free him from his strenuous days as the ruler, but perhaps it could also make things similar to how they were when he was
in the guild, yeah. That's what he wants, isn't it?
Ainz knew it was his duty to maintain the ideal image the NPCs wanted for him, but he couldn't help but want to interact in a way that wasn't master-subordinate for once. Now, a quick thing to note about Ainz switching the two books
Yeah, what was the
here
books
is that
about?
this was all just for the sake of appearances. You see, because the books he normally reads isn't one he deems worthy enough for a ruler, he always switches it out for one that's a lot more difficult. One with a longer and more elaborate.
Oh, okay, yeah, I did not get that. That was quite interesting, okay.
Move the book, they'll see that he's reading something worthy of his incomparable intellect. When we get to Ainz having his outfit chosen for him next,
That's brilliant.
this was solely due to him not being confident in his own fashion choices. Sure, there was plenty of gear that he personally liked, but he couldn't risk wearing something that would cast doubt on his ruler status. Then, even if he
Needed to look
wearing the same
important.
outfit over and over again, that too would eventually cause damage to his reputation. So, by having Bith choose what he was going to wear, Not only did it set aside a scapegoat for if the outfit was terrible, but it was also the easiest way of managing this extremely crucial decision.
I think it looks sick, man. It looks dead cool.
Arrival, and that's when we get to an interesting thought from Ainz. One that was taking into account just how taxing all this work was. You see, every day right around the exact same time, Ainz would start to feel gloomy knowing that there was work just ahead of him. It wasn't ever anything trivial or miscellaneous, but instead a constantly changing set of massive decisions that would always direct the bigger picture. His subordinates were always acting on the choices that were made in this room here. The reason Ainz found it so particularly tough, though, is because the weight of such great responsibility brought with it considerable stress as well. There was just so much mental exhaustion and pressure, much more than he'd typically have from physical labor. Even so, Ainz pushed forward ready to delegate most of his tasks to someone far more capable. If nothing else, he could at least assign duties to those whose strengths made them best suited for them. That's why he made sure to thoroughly review every document that passed by him. Even if those documents were filled with contradictions, triple negatives,
stuff he didn't understand,
just abhorrent gaps in logic. When Ainz went on to discuss the status of his kingdom's laws next, we find out that they've simply been using the already existing ones. Albedo felt that to force people into completely new ones would only lead to even more discontent.
Yeah.
So, out of concern for the kingdom's overall peace, Albedo decided to truly consider the feelings of the humans living within it. A surprising choice that left even Ainz a little shocked.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that seems quite out of character, but okay.
Ainz's orphanage plan, while Yuri Alpha's was on the right track, the core problem with hers was that it provided people the power to turn against him. Yes, a more educated workforce does provide a means to strengthen Nazarick, but at the same time, that very knowledge would be the first weapon used to fight them. In fact, it's actually for that very reason why Carne Village is kept under such tight surveillance. Should Enery or Nefaria make any significant discoveries, then Nazarick would be the only nation to capitalize.
Yeah, they'd know straight away, be able to use it as cool.
That was the value of information Ainz had to discover in the future, so. That's not to say that new technologies couldn't be shared, but it was absolutely imperative to limit just how far that information was spread.
Definitely.
There was a fine balance that needed to be kept in order to maintain this monopoly of technology. That being the case, the idea for Ainz's orphanage was simple. Don't teach any person more than what the average local knows, then only share new info with someone who shows significant promise.
Yeah, like the ones that have got potential, so that they can like help benefit from it.
Once Aura and Mare showed up shortly after this, that's when we learned that this was every Guardian stationed at Arantel currently. Shaltir was guarding Nazarick and helping with transportation. Cocytus was still in charge of overseeing the Lizardmen.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's still going on,
business in the Sacred Kingdom. So that left Albedo for her management skills over here, then the twins who had just finished building a fake Nazarick in the woodlands. Initially, this fake Nazarick was intended to keep the real Nazarick hidden, but after having given away the real tomb's position to the Emperor, Ainz decided it was best to use it as a supply depot and evacuation.
Oh, okay, cool.
With that now complete, though, Aura was tasked with...
It's cool to know where everyone else is as well. This is cool, yeah.
Concealment, while Mare was to build a subterranean tomb at the outskirts of the city. This wasn't for any specific reason in particular, but it did make sure that no person's power was going to waste. Especially when that person was someone as useful as Mare. Now, a minor little tidbit that some of you might find interesting is a brief update on the 3 elves from the worker invasion.
Okay.
All 3 were given to Aura and Mare, mainly in hopes that they could help in their development.
Right.
Just like how the twins seemed to yearn for a father figure here, it was only natural for Ainz to assume that they'd want to be with some of their own kind as well. But contrary to how he thought they'd interact, the 3 elves were more of a nuisance since they'd just follow them around like maids.
Okay.
They didn't really provide that connection that Ainz was hoping for. Setting that aside, the more pressing matter right now...
It was nice that he had the thought to
the supply shortage.
do that though.
An additional factor that made supplying a little difficult was the fact that the Sorcerer Kingdom couldn't just take it. Ainz had prohibited all military might from being used on any of its neighboring countries. So, despite it being very much like taking candy from a baby, the idea itself was completely forbidden. Fortunately for Ainz, though, Demiurge did already have a solution in progress.
Of course he
does. A form of harvest that would provide supplies for now.
The happy farm.
He didn't know what exactly this harvest consisted of, but he was sure that if Demiurge was the one to come up with it, then he definitely wouldn't have to worry about it.
Demiurge is a genius, like.
Another plan more closely related to Ainz was the send-off of numerous slum dwellers to go and rebuild destroyed villages. With a whole team of Death Knights at their side, these homeless-prone villagers were sent out to reclaim land destroyed by the Theocracy. The undead would assist with much of the labor, then within a year they were supposed to have reached a stable level of self-sufficiency. That's when Ainz was hoping they'd be able to start producing harvests of their own. Now, the last topic covered during this conversation was the peculiar request of Albedo to go to the royal capital. A trip that Albedo had personally requested multiple
I
times.
love her costume, man.
In order for it to happen,
It's cool to see
there
Albedo
was
with
this whole
like
plan
responsibility.
that needed to be made so that Pandora's actor
Oh, Pandora's actor is so over the top.
He was also responsible to play the role of Momo, the valiant adventurer manipulating the minds and hearts of the people to favor Ainz. So, if Albedo was gone and he was now in charge of logistics, then someone still needed to fill that role of hero. That being the case, Albedo decided it was best to have Momo leave the city as well. He would tell the people he was requested to patrol a different area, then head out after reinforcing the notion
wow,
that
there's a lot
that's
like left
that
out.
way the people would remain docile, and both Albedo and Ainz could continue working without worry.
There's only so much you can put in an episode, though, isn't
To
there?
briefly touch on the scene with Hamske, the only things we missed were minor details on her title as the Wise King of the Forest, as well as some mention of a prototype armor that they were making for her.
Oh, okay.
The title wasn't as fitting for her as Ainz initially thought it was, and she was ordered to continue her training with this prototype armor on now. Fast forward to the scene with Pandora's actor now, and that's when we find out an interesting aspect of one of his duties. Aside from his previous job as the caretaker of the treasury, Pandora's actor was also responsible for creating half of the undead in Nazarick.
Oh.
The other half were all made by Ainz himself, but the creations of PA were similar enough to pass as minions. Plus, even with both of them creating as many undead as they could, it would still be impossible to get through all the corpses that were kept frozen in the icy fifth floor's glaciers.
Dark.
An important line that was excluded from their conversation about growth was the immediate backpedaling Ainz had to do to ensure that he wasn't playing favorites. So, in order to put Pandora's actor back into his place, Ainz had told him that he was lowering his importance to him. Should there come a time where he had to choose between a floor guardian or Pandora's actor, then Ainz made sure PA knew that he was the one who would be left behind. This didn't really carry with it the greatest feeling when Ainz had said it, but it was likely necessary to prevent the future spread of potential discord. Now, Ainz posting up an open view of every angle of the entire city did pose quite the issue to those who were supposed to be guarding him. Like, if Ainz was up against a sniper like Peroronchino, the position he was in right now would be his most vulnerable. Of course, Ainz's PvP training made him capable of defending against that, but there was still a possibility he could be attacked by something different. That being the case, Ainz knew he needed to be a bit more cautious until they figured out if they could resurrect a player. So long as the experiments on that remained incomplete, he knew he needed to act as if he had one life only. Thus the reason he went into town with the Horde of Angels.
Oh, okay, that's why they're there.
This wasn't the optimal shield that he desired, but as 6th level 80 gatekeepers summoned to the super tier spell Pantheon, they were definitely enough to handle this stroll.
Okay, yeah.
Ainz did consider several other options as well, but
Jesus.
most were either not worth the cost that they carried to cast, or were simply too weak to even act as a shield. That said, he could have also used his Master of Dark Rites to strengthen his Create Undead skill, but the near level 90 undead created from this would be way too strong.
God,
like, he
overkill.
Couldn't imagine walking through town with an Eternal Death whose passive literally caused insta-death and fear. That would definitely be one of the safer monsters to summon, but certainly not the right one for the audience he was trying to appeal to.
My god.
Now, despite this next scene taking place at the end of the anime, it was for good reasons supposed to happen before the guild meeting. As you'll soon find out, there was quite a bit of context left out towards Ainz's reasoning for his choice of future for his kingdom. So, the last scene in which Ainz declares his intent to build a utopia is an idea founded on the belief that his position is an extremely unique one. You see, even if a genius king went and made the perfect country, there was no guarantee that the kings to come after him would be perfect as well. If that genius king was somehow immortal and ageless, though, then the perfect kingdom he built could theoretically persist forever.
Yeah.
So long as the government was maintained by a small handful of geniuses as well, the immortal king would have no trouble overcoming anything. So, with Demiurge and Albedo right by Ainz's side, that made the Sorcerer Kingdom the only place capable of producing this eternal paradise. Every tool required to create a persistent utopia was right there in front of him waiting to be used by him. It was the perfect shape for world conquest that he could come up with. The path for his kingdom that he previously couldn't recognize. Demiurge and Albedo would rule the shadows by force, while he would rule in the open through overwhelming attraction.
Cool.
As for how he was going to do that, well, he began to approach the problem like it was a work project. if the kingdom was a company and he was the only employee, then the product was an ideal government and his job was now to sell it. It was a problem statement that brought with it two very basic marketing questions. Who in the world would want to purchase this product, and how would he go about letting them know that he's selling it? Those would be the final thoughts which would eventually lead Ainz right to the doorsteps of the Adventurers Guild. I know this was a little bit out of order, but it really provides a lot more context as to why Ainz is going to the guild in the first place.
Yeah, it does.
He was trying to find a way to reach the most people at once, all while showing them that the Sorcerer Kingdom could actually be pretty habitable. It's also why we see Ainz push so hard for the inclusion of all species here. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I got for episode 1. And that's just the first of many Overlord videos that I have planned for this season. So, if you want to see more in-depth Overlord content, then be sure to subscribe so that you know...
Mate, if you're not subscribed to Annie News and you're into Overlord... Oh, the Succubate stuff's back. Cool. Awesome.
So, if you never had the chance to get them...
yeah, if you're a fan of Overlord, Annie News is definitely the guy to be subscribed to. He's got so many decent ones. Ciao. He's got so many decent Overlord videos on his channel. Like, he's got, like, how strong each of the Floor Guardians are, and the stats, and who they are, and everything. And got cut content videos from Season 3, and then he's done some for 1, and then obviously we're on this, and he'll probably upload one every week covering the episodes. Absolutely awesome. I love these cut content videos. Anyway, thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video I upload, links in the description of the Patreon page. $1 a month is all I ask to help support the channel. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you guys very much for that. And thank you all for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click the like, subscribe if you haven't already, leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch, discuss in future videos, and I'll see you guys, all you guys, next time. Bye.